McDonald's recently announced that they are ending their quote unquote experiment with the Beyond Burger at all of their restaurants. And here's why that's probably a really good thing. So, first and foremost, if you guys know, I've talked about plant-based burgers before in several videos, and we're going to dive into the ingredients and why they're probably not beneficial for your health and longevity. But also, if you look at Beyond Meat as a company, they've been deteriorating over the last year. I think a lot more people are becoming skeptical of eating plant-based options and really don't see of added value in doing so. So if you look here, this is the stock of Beyond Meat over the last year, and it's steadily declining and probably will continue to decline until they come up with something new or innovative in the space. But if we're looking at the ingredients of the Beyond Burger, we see a lot of red flags right off the gate. So pea protein is okay as an option, but we'll talk about why it's not as good as an animal-based source of protein. But you see something very early on, high in their ingredients, which is canola oil. It is a highly inflammatory vegetable oil that you do not want to be consuming in large amounts. As Americans, or just overall people inside of the entire world, already have high amounts of inflammation, so we don't need to be adding highly inflammatory oils to foods that shouldn't have them. Yet canola oil is a prominent ingredient. Then the other source of protein that they have in there is rice protein, which is decent, but you need to eat a lot of it to get the same benefit that you get with animal-based proteins. So let's do a comparison of what this meant when someone ate or eats a Beyond Burger versus the same amount or 4 ounces of a beef-based burger. So if we look at the breakdown here, I have the calories, the fat, the carbs, and the protein. So that way we get a clear apples to apples comparison of the differences. If you look at calorie intake, there's really not much of a difference, 230 versus 240 calories between the two burgers. However, the Beyond Burger, because it does have some of these other added ingredients, has about 5 net carbs. So people who are trying to lower their carbohydrate consumption need to factor that in, especially when they're having buns and probably fries along with it. You need to be very conscious that there are added carbohydrates to the burger. And it claims that it has 20 grams of protein. And so people look at this as, oh, this is a viable option for me to get in protein. And when they were going to McDonald's and they wanted a plant-based option, they thought that this would provide them some value. And here's why it isn't as good as an animal-based protein source. So even though both of them have about 20 grams of protein, there's a difference in the quality of those proteins. And to explain that very simply, the way the process works inside of our body, it's called muscle protein synthesis. And long story short, what that means is like a light switch turning on and our body building proteins and muscle for our tissues and various different things going on in our body. There's a certain threshold that needs to be hit in order for that light switch to turn on. And that threshold is determined by the leucine content of the protein. So here I broke down what that leucine content is in each one of these protein sources. So even though they both have 20 grams of protein, the leucine is very different between the two. And to put this in perspective, most people, in order to turn on that light switch and trigger that process known as muscle protein synthesis, need about 2 grams of leucine in order to trigger that response. However, despite having 20 grams of protein in the Beyond Burger, you're only getting 1.6 grams of leucine. That's a problem for most people who are trying to build muscle, or even people who are older and have some degree of what we call anabolic resistance, where they need more leucine than just 2 grams. This wouldn't do the job for them. This wouldn't be enough to trigger that response in order to be anabolic or trigger that muscle protein synthesis. Whereas 4 ounces of beef, which is in a typical burger, that has 2.5 grams of leucine. So that would trigger that response, that would turn on the light switch and allow you to build muscle. So for those that are plant-based advocates, for them, it might be a sad day that McDonald's is no longer offering this throughout their stores. However, long term, this is probably a better thing, and we need to do a better job on educating why animal-based protein sources are better for you in terms of building muscle and overall health. Let me know what you guys thought about this video and anything else that you want to see me talk about. Let me know down in the comments, and we will make sure we touch on it very soon.